Okay, so the last class we have seen the type of screen flow, right? So type of lightning flows, screen flow, and auto launch flow. Screen flow and in the auto launch, we have understood the record triggered flow, scheduled triggered flow. These two we have understood. Now today, let's go ahead and see in depth. Now if we go to the lightning flow, if I go to the click on a new flow, I have a three type of elements. If I go to the any flow, you go to any screen flow, record triggered flow, any flow. If you go to the flow and click on this, freeform, then I can see that interaction element, data element, logic element. Three type of elements are there. There are three types of elements. Lightning elements. One is the interaction element, logic element, and then data element. Right? Interaction element, as the word says, interaction. That means whatever the elements are present in this these are used to interact with the users. Like we have a three type of elements: screen flow, action flow, subflow. Screen flow, action flow, and subflow. These are there. Now, interaction. So interaction itself is saying that where we need to interact with the user input or interact with the or user need to enter the details, right? So if I drag something here, screen flow. So let's say that I'm going to drag the screen flow. I'm dragging the screen flow. Now, when you select a free form, you can drag it from here. If you select a auto layout, you have a plus button where you need to click on a plus button, you need to choose the screen. Now, when you choose the screen, the first thing it will ask you the screen properties. Whatever this default screen is there, that screen properties. What is the label? Let's say that this is screen display flow. This is the label name, this is the API name. And here we have a description. Now, in case if you want a header to be displayed, this header you want to be displayed, you can say that show header. If you do not want the header, you can remove the header. This is a screen property. Now, footer. In the footer, if you want to show the footer, you can select this. If you do not want to show the footer, then unselect it. Now, in this footer, we have a pause, previous, finish. Pause, previous, finish. Now, you decided what are the standard buttons you wanted. So, next or a finish button. Use the standard layout button or use a custom button or hide the next button, next or a finish button. So any of this, if you use hide, then it will hide. Use the custom label where you need to use the whatever the button you have implemented, that button you need to use it here. Standard one, as it is Salesforce is providing, that's the same one we are going to use it. Similarly, previous button. So we have a previous button. Previous button, do you want to use the Salesforce standard one? Or do you want to use the custom one, or do you want to hide the previous button? So let's say that I wanted to use the standard. Similarly, pause button. Here we have a pause button. Now, do you want to use the standard label? So when we click on this pause button, the execution of the flow will be paused. Or do you want to use the custom one? What are the custom label is there? So do you want to use that custom label? Now here, if you enter the label name, let's say that skip, right? So it is going to show you the skip. Now backside of this button, you need to implement a logic. On this button, you need to implement what should happen. Like this is the skip button. Now, usually here it is a pause button. When you click on the skip, it will be paused or something. But do you want to perform any other action? Probably you might need to use a different one. Now here, pause confirmation message. Do you want any confirmation message here? When you click on it, pause confirmation, do you want to mention anything? So let's say that I wanted to hide it. I don't want to show anything. So these are the screen properties. These are the screen properties. Now in the screen properties, we have a different type of fields are there. Different type of a fields. Like similarly, whenever we are creating the new field in the custom object, same way you have a fields here. Right? So here you have a subject or date, time, like a checkbox is there. Now checkboxes, as we see that in the while creating the field, right? Whenever we are creating the field in the object manager, what are the data types we see that? Now let's go to the object manager. In the object manager, for example, if I'm creating any field, click on a fields and relationship. Now click on a new button. Now, whatever the fields you are able to see here, data type fields, whatever you are able to see the data type fields, those all data type fields can be visible here. Checkbox, additional fields also there. Now, currency, data table, date time, date, dependent pick list, display image, email, file upload, long text area, lookup, multi-select pick list, name, number, order management, these are the different password, phone number, these all are used to be used on the screen. For example, I want some subject here, or I want the case type to be, case fields to be displayed. What are the case fields are there? I want the case fields to be displayed. Now let me add here text. So if you drag the text field, this is the text field. Assume that this is a subject. Subject field, and is it required or not? It's a decision taken by the developer. If you say it is required, then it will ask you to enter the data. If it is not required, it will be optional, whether the data can be entered or not. Now here, set a component visibility. Every time do you want to see this or not? Validate input, whether like you wanted to validate. Whatever the enter is data is entered here. Whatever the data is entered. Let's say here the API name is let's say subject. This is the subject. No, not for this scenario, but I'll show you the scenario for the validation input. Not for this scenario. No, these are the help text. Now here, you take any input and drag it here. Whenever you drag here, there are a couple of information that displayed here. You just need to enter the label, API name, whether you wanted to show the compatibility, always this what are the component is there. This component should be displayed every time or should it be displayed only sometime, then you need to decide it. Similarly, if you want a long text area, you drag a long text area. So drag long text area. Right, this is assume that this is a description. Similarly, this also we have a fields available. This also have it available. Now, so if a subject is, what are the subject is there? If that subject is not equal to null, if this subject is not equal to null, then below I have a formula. Let's say formula is subject is not equal to null. If it is a not equal to null or if it is a equal to null. Right, so you can use anything. Is empty is also there. What are the formula fields are there that we have seen? Is empty, subject, right, equal to null. Then I wanted to show what validate input error message saying that subject need to be entered. Right, so our subject is, whenever the subject is not null, description is not mandatory. And you can enter any formula here. Now these are the couple of things which you can enter the details. And for example, if you want check boxes or a radio button, choose here radio button. Choose the radio button. Now here is the radio button which is there. Now let's say that this is the radio button, whether it is approve or not. Approve or not. In that case, we use the radio button. Now for example, right now it is showing only one radio button option. Only one radio button option is showing here. Now if you want a multiple radio button, then it's a here, you see here choice is there. So choice is going to explain you how many radio button options you can create it. For example, click on this choice and it will ask you to create a new choice resource. Click on the new choice. Let's say choice is the first one. I'm selecting the choice here. Yes. Let's say this is the S choice. Right, so choice label. What are the label that you wanted to say? For example, I'll say here, yes. Data type is text. What are the choice value is there? If yes is selected, then it should be a true. Click on done. Now here it is displaying the S button. Similarly, I'll create a one more, which is another one. I'm creating it. Here I'm selecting the choice. And my API name is no choice. This is the API name, but what is the label to be displayed? Label to be displayed is no. Label to be displayed is no. And when the user selected no, what should be the choice value? It should be a false. Click on done. Immediately yes, no will be created. In case if you want to create a one more, add a choice. Click on here, new choice resource. Now let's say choice. That means I'm creating the individual choice, maybe choice. Now here I'll display the label name is maybe. Whenever the maybe is selected, it's a text field is either true or a false. So let's take it as a false. Maybe is similar to the false. Now I'll choose it as a false. Click on Done. Right, these are the radio options. These are the radio options. Now, like this, you can use anything. You can use like a data table. I have already discussed about the data table. This data table is similar to the table what you want. So table name, API name, and how many rows you wanted. How many rows you wanted to display. Right? What are the columns to be displayed here? What are the columns to be displayed? And is this component visible every time? So these all is whatever you see here, it's an understandable format. So for example, if I say that this table name is case table, case table, and this is the API name. So if it is API name, there should not be any space. And label name, I'll say that case. I'll say case details. Now use the label name, it will be displayed label name. Now data source, if you want any data source to be there, so you can use the data source. Right now we do not. Data source is nothing but what is the from where you wanted to take the data. From where you want to take the data. Now in order to display here table, you need to provide some input variables, right? So that input variables is provided here, which is a collection. Which is a collection. You need to provide the details to here. Now configure a row. So how many minimum selection, how many maximum selection you wanted. How many minimum selection and how many maximum selection you want. Configure column is dependent on your configure data source. If you provide a configure data source, your configure column will be displayed. Let's suppose configure data source, I'll create a new data source. Let's say variable, I'll take a variable, API name is case, right? Data type is a, we have a different things are there. Let's say that record, I'll say allow multiple values, and here the object is a case. Click on done. Right, so now it is taken the case. Now I can see the configure columns. Configure columns is displaying here. Field name now. I wanted to display the case number. First column. Similarly, add another column here. I wanted to display the priority. So click on the priority. Two columns are there. Right. So any questions on the screen flow? How to use the component in the screen flow? How to use the component in the screen flow? Now you take anything. These are the whatever you wanted to see here. You need to set up in the right side. Left side one, you need to drag it. Like for example, you wanted to drag the pick list, drag the pick list. Now here the pick list is, you wanted to display the pick list name. Let's say here, this is a lead pick list. Lead pick list, API name. Right, so display data type is text. Now configure the choice, pick list values, how you wanted to do. Let me create a new one. Now in this case, I'll take a record choice set. Record choice set. Let's say that all the lead records, what are the lead records are there? I wanted to display those lead records. Let's say that this is the lead records. Click on done. Now here condition is, let's say, lead source or whatever you see here, all the fields are displayed here. All the fields are displayed. Now here we have a lead source. Lead source equals to, let's say, web. Click on done. Now it is asking that the first one is a filter lead records. What are the leads that you wanted to filter out? Filter is nothing but if you have 100 records, out of the 100 records, I wanted to get only the records that lead source equal to web. Now let me go and see. Now let's see the lead. Now in the lead, if you open any lead, now detail section, we have a web source, lead source. This is the lead source. So lead source equal to web. Whoever is the lead source equal to web, those are the records I wanted to pull it. So you can pull those. That means I'm filtering the lead records. What is the filter? Wherever the lead source equal to web, only those records I wanted to take it. And sort the lead record. If you want to sort any lead record, you can sort it ascending order, descending order, anything. So ascending order by annual revenue. Now configure the each choice. How do you want to display the each choice? Now, for example, each choice label should be the, let's say, choice label has to be lead first name. And data type is text. Now this data type is what you wanted to display. Text equal to data type text equal to, I'll take a first name here also. And this is the configure the each choice. You are going to configure the each choice and store more lead field values. If you want to store more lead values, you can store that. Click on it, done. Right, so these are the options you can give here and it will be displayed. Right, so right now it is a disable. Now default value is done and the set compatibility every time it should be displayed. Provide help. If you want to provide any help, you can provide it. Right, so these are the options which you can see. Now, is there any question how to use these screen components? You just need to drag it here and whatever the right side it is displaying it, same thing. In the right side, what are the important mandatory information is asking, you need to provide those mandatory information here. You need to provide those mandatory information. Any questions on the screen component?
Ma'am, is there a way that we can set the visibility for entire screen element?
What do you mean by visibility of entire screen?
Suppose in the first screen I have some pick list value. Suppose the country name, India, Paris, and all. So in second screen, the screen after the first screen, I want to set the visibility for the pick list values that I have shown in the first screen. So depending upon the first screen selection, I want to show the next screens.
Yes,
So that
you
way.
have it. You have an option for component visibility. When do you want to show the component, you can display here. So you can put a condition here in the next screen and what are the resource you are asking that. So choose the screen component here. Based on that particular screen component, you can say that this should be displayed, this screen should be displayed based on that radio button option or a pick list value.
But this is particular to a field, right? I am talking about the entire screen.
Right. So in that case, what you can say here, screens are there. Okay, so put it the another screen in another flow. This flow is one screen, and in order to display the second screen, then you need to expect the input value. Created two screens in two different flows. And before executing the screen flow, you check a value here. That means do not create a screen flow. You create a screen flow here, but you need to get the records or you need to get the certain value. Use the different element. First get that information from the other screen flow, then only execute the screen flow.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
like how to create, like when I will tell one scenario,
How to create a
means assume that we have a student and employee. That like we assign the radio button for that. One radio button for student and one radio button for employee. When you choose the radio button of student, the student information means window has to display. How to do that?
Student information has to be displayed.
Yeah, means like inputs. The user has to enter the student's information.
Okay. Have you attended the first class of Lightning Flow?
Yeah, ma'am, I attended.
Okay. So there is a checkbox which we have implemented. Now let's take a checkbox instead of radio button. Let's take a checkbox. Now based on this checkbox one, I wanted to display the data table. Okay, so I have a checkbox here and I have a data table here. Whenever the checkbox is true, then only I wanted to display the data table. Otherwise, I do not want to display anything. Now, in that case, let me keep this label name is student available. Okay, so this is the checkbox. So once this checkbox is true, now here I can do the checkbox true or a false, right? So once this is the true, then what I wanted to display, this data table needs to be displayed. This is the student table. This is the student table. Now API name data table is asking the student table. Now next thing it is asking the what is the label. Label you can keep it as a student. Now here nothing is displaying here. So you can say here if you want the header to be displayed, you can say student. Student. Okay, use this label as a table. Now here in the student table, I want the student information needs to be displayed. Student details has to be displayed here. Whenever this is checked, then only this component should be displayed. Otherwise, this component should not be displayed. That is the scenario. Now, in this case, I have a data table name is a student table. Label name is a student. I'm displaying the label here. Now, let me configure the data. I already have a data which is related to the. Now, let me create a new resource. Now, here I do not have a collection. Okay, here I do not have a collection. I'm explaining two things here. One is the checkbox related, another one is a data table related. Now, two questions I have received, so that's the reason I'm combining the two questions here. Now, we have a data table. So, data table is nothing but a table. Data table is nothing but a table. Now, this table is displaying the information of student. It's supposed to display the information of the student, like a student number, student name, and student email ID, and then student, let's say phone number. These are the information. Now this table, this student table, if it has to display the details, now here the details should be displayed here. Now if the records, how the records will be displayed? If somebody pass the data to this table, then only it is going to display the information in the data table. Now, who is going to pass the information? That you have to decide it. Developer has to decide it, and that information has to be in the collection format. Collection format. That means if you are passing the lead records or a student records, so there should be a one variable. There should be a one variable which is holding the collection of student records, which is holding the collection of student records, which is holding the collection of student records, right? Now here, that means if you pass this collection to this table, then only you will be able to show the details here. Let's say here, student name is Suraj, and another student name is Arman. Right, so like this, the detail will be displayed only if you pass the input of the collection of variables, collection of student details. If you pass that variable to the input, then it is going to display. Now, how I am going to pass it to this data table, which is called as a configure data source. Configure data source. In this configure data source, so source collection is, I do not have right now any source collection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new resource. Now in the new resource, I'll take a variable and the API name is students details, and here data type. What should be the data type? Now let's take the record. Now allow multiple values. Now I'll just take the object is a lead. I'll just take the lead object here. Now click on done. Select here collection again. Now you have a student details. Select the student details. Now you are passing the student details to this table. You are passing the student details to this table. Now once you pass the details to this table, now you need to divide the column. What are the columns to be displayed in this data table? Now column is decided by the configure column. Configure column. Now here column options are, I wanted to display the first name, right? And I wanted to display the email. And then let's display the let's display the information of lead source. Click on done. So 3 columns are divided. I'm dividing the 3 columns. Now set compatibility when this data should be displayed. Now I wanted to display this data based on the, if I say that is student available equals to true, then only display this table. Otherwise, do not display this table. Otherwise, do not display this information. Now click on done. Now we have to do the screen. This is the screen flow. Click on done. Now if I save this, this is the test flow. Click on the save button. Now click on the debug. Now in this case, the checkbox, if I have a student information, then I wanted to display the student information. Click on run. Now by default, it is not displaying anything. If I click on the checkbox, then it is displaying the checkbox. For example, if I want the debug here, now let's say here, now instead of the checkbox, I want the radio button. I want the radio button. I want the radio button. Now in the radio button, let's say that this is the radio button. In the radio button, I'll say that right now it is displaying the, I'll choose the yes choice as well as I choose the no choice. Or else you can create your own. Right, yes choice is there, then only I wanted to display the data table. Otherwise, I do not want to display the data table. Now in that case, go to the data table. compatibility here, and condition one more add. Now if it is a S, whatever the record radio button equals to, if it is a yes choice, click on done. Now let's say done. Now if I have a radio button S as well as the other checkbox is true, then only it is going to display the data table. Now click on a debug. Click on run. Now here is student as well as I'm selecting the yes. If I select the no, then it will go. So this means yes means if I want a student information, display the student information. If it is a no, then do not display the any student information. So these are the options which we can give.
Hello.
Is that clear?
No, here we are retrieving the data. But my question is, like if students wants to enter the details, like any form the student has to fill. In that scenario, how we'll design the page?
You want to divide the page. So in first screen you want the information, second screen you want the information.
Not inform, yeah. The student has to enter the input, like his name, his details.
So this is the first screen. This is the next.
Like if student is applying the application form.
This is the screen one. This is the screen two.
In screen one, we are giving the students like computer science, if like any example, like in engineering, some branches, CS, electronics, like that. Each option we are giving the checkbox or radio button. Once the student, once the user is selected that particular department, in second screen, it has to display the input details like student name and all. The student has to enter the details like application form. The student has to enter the application form.
This is one lightning flow. This is the second lightning flow. Okay, this screen flow, whatever you are capturing the data, the reason I'm saying two flows is, do you have really at the screen level? Now if I'm creating the another screen, does screen says anywhere show me the screen depending on the previous data? Does it shows anywhere? It does not give me screen level. I do not have a dependent screen display. I do not have anything here dependent screen. Either you need to create a two screens here. You need to create another screen here. You need to create another screen. Assume that this screen is a some text data is there. Some details you are displaying it here. This is a test one second screen. Okay. Now here two screens are there. In between this, you need to add a condition. You need to add a condition. What is my input? Which is entered in the screen flow. First screen flow, what is the input which is entered? If it is equal to, whatever the equal to, if it is a chemistry or anything, then go to this screen. If it is a entered by the, if it is a ECE, then go to the other screen. If it is a triple E, then go to the different screen. You have to create multiple screens. Screen level, there is a no dependency. You cannot, that kind of a flexibility Salesforce has not given. Display the screen only based on the certain input. Directly, you cannot do screen to screen. In between that, you need to add another element, which could be a decision element, which could be a get element, which could be a different element. So that element is going to decide which screen should be displayed.
Okay, ma'am. Good.
Right? So either you create in a single lightning flow, create a multiple screens, and when you create a multiple screens, in between that you need to create a decision box. In between this, you need to create a decision box. In this decision box, you need to have to go through the multiple options. Otherwise, if you want to separate it completely a different lightning flow, you can separate the different lightning flow. But before taking the screen in the screen level here, you need to take the get element, or you need to take the get resource input. You need a resource input. You need a resource which is an input resource. So you need to call from screen 1 to screen 2. Whenever you are calling from screen 1 to screen 2, you need to pass this resource. You need to pass this resource to second lightning. Then only this lightning flow gets executed. You do not have an option to do the CSS. Are you able to see anywhere the CSS here? I'm not able to see CSS anywhere. It doesn't even give me the option that which font change or something change. It doesn't give me anything. It doesn't give me any options here. This is the lightning components which are already built by the Salesforce, and they are giving us the predefined lightning component. We cannot change. If I want to change this font and I wanted to change this label, I wanted to change this a different color, those kind of things we cannot do.
Ma'am, then mostly these are the desktop applications.
I cannot say it is a desktop application. In mobile also you can access.
Then I mean it should have a custom, right? I mean that's
It's
what I'm.
already implemented by the Salesforce. Lightning flows, lightning components are implemented by them. So when you build a lightning flows, you can access in mobile or a desktop or wherever. In mobile, if you open the Salesforce, now if you are clicking on this button, whatever the action you are able to perform it in the desktop, same action can be done in the Salesforce mobile.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Madam, for this lightning flows, we can't include the other stream flow in the existing flow, right?
No, if you want, you can get it. There is an app exchange. You can get more on the app exchange. If you go to the more on app exchange, there we have provided few more screen type of flows. So if you want, you can get it from this app exchange and you can use those.
Like the previous examples, like if you going for the intermediate from this only, if I'm going for intermediate admission, so along that they will provide like the MZ and JE courses also. If I check the JE, I need to open the same page with the JE account admission form, like the basic needs, like what is the schedule you need, and what is the basic details they want to capture in the same screen. So that scenario we can take like page layout of the custom page layout, and based on the section condition we can do it, right?
Can you repeat your question?
Like for example, the same in this flow. So can we call the page layouts like custom
No,
page
you
layout?
cannot. You cannot.
We cannot. And for the same screen, if I want to applicable with the multiple scenario, like for example, if I'm going for intermediate admission form, so apart from the intermediate, they will offering the JEE and MSET. So if the person is selecting the checkbox of MSET, so in the same screen we need to load the MSET application form to capture that.
Okay.
Then that
Mhm.
then that scenario, how we can include the screen here.
Is that the same scenario which is covered here, like ECE? Somebody asked the question, ECE.
But it will change the screen, right?
Yes, you don't want to change the screen?
Yeah, I don't want to see the screen. In that screen only, I want to load that.
Sorry?
In the same screen only, I want to load that page.
You don't have that option. If you want to load in the same screen, now you have this address is there. Okay, so this address you wanted to load it in the same page. In that case, component visibility is there. You have a component visibility, you can choose here.
Okay, like based on the component visibility in that flag, we can enable and we can do it, right?
Yeah.
In the okay, okay, I got it. Thank you.
Ma'am, I had a quick question on this one. So, so on the component visibility part, right? Can I display? Can I hide or unhide fields based on the values of certain fields on the screen flow? Like, for example, I have a checkbox on the top. So if it's selected as true, I want to display certain fields on the bottom of the same screen flow. Is that possible, or we have to create a separate screen flow for that?
No, this is what we are doing it. No? When you select here, you are selecting the checkbox. Based on the checkbox, we are displaying the address, the data table here. That's what we have done, right?
So it will directly reflect the same time. Okay.
It will be same screen. So that's what I'm saying here in the same screen. If you want the specific component to be reflected, then you need to use the set component visibility option.
Okay, got it. So if there is a form that a certain student is filling up, so based on what, if in case is applying for intermediate first year, right? We'll have like maybe a checkbox on the top of it, and we would have the rest of the columns at the bottom of it.
Yes.
And if it's yeah, so we can cover that scenario. Got it, ma'am.
That we have not reached yet, Vasavi. So in the application level, we will see that later. Right now, I got so many questions, so that's the reason I'm repeating the lightning flow. We have not reached to display the screen flow into the application, how to use as a front end, those we have not yet decided. Let's understand first each of this, how whether we are able to understand or not. If we are able to understand, then I can go how to display this flow into the front end and on the account page, how can I display or how can I configure everything I can do. It is going to take time to reach that point. Okay, so let's take the assignment here. Implement lightning flow for Btech students. Okay. Now in the screen one, ask for the first name, last name, email, and there should be a one pick list. What is it called? EC, CSC branch. Let's take it as a branch. So this is the screen one. Now based on the branch selection, options are here: ECE, CSC, IT. These are the three options. Based on branch selection, show the different screen Now, if it is a ECE, show the account data table. If it is a CSC, show the contact table. If it is a IT, show the lead table. Okay, this is the assignment. Just display the information that exists in the Salesforce. Is everybody taking the notes? Okay, can everybody do this assignment?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Now the second here option is available field. Next one which is available field. These fields are nothing but whatever is exist within the Salesforce fields. Whatever it is exist in the Salesforce fields. If you create a resource, right? I have already created the resource. No, here I have not created the resource. Okay, so here, in order to get the Salesforce fields, when I say Salesforce fields, so if you go to the lead, you have a different Salesforce fields are there: lead source, website, industry, lead status, annual revenue. These all are there. Now, if you want these fields, you wanted to place it onto the lightning screen flow. You want to place these fields, whatever the fields are there, like a website, right? Website, annual revenue, rating, these fields, you wanted to place it onto the screen. Now, in that case, how can I bring? I have a fields which are already available in the lead object. I have a fields which are already available in the lead object. Now, whatever the fields are available in the lead object, I wanted to bring those fields onto the lightning flow. Now, these are the fields which are available on the lead object. Whatever the fields are available here, these fields I wanted to bring it to the here screen flow. In that case, how can we do that? Go to the fields, click on a record variable, click on a new resource, click on new resource. If you click on a new resource, now here it is asking the enter the information. Now, when we say enter the information, right? So it is basically what I wanted to create. I wanted to create a record. Now, what type of a variable it is? Resource is nothing but a, first of all, new resource. Resource is nothing but there is some information which I needed for this flow, either to store the information or to provide the information. Why I create a resource, first of all? Why I create a resource? There are so many resources are there. There are so many resources are there. Now, why do we create a resource? Go to the manager. We have a resource here. Now, we have so many resources. What is the resource? Resource is nothing but either I needed some variable or some container to store the information, or else I need a information from the database to the flow. Either I need to store the information in resource or I need to get the information from the resource. That's how we use the resource. Resource is in between. Now I am doing the flow continuation that I am implementing a flow. Right? I am implementing a flow. I have created here get element, and then I have created some checkbox, and then we are checking the additional information. Then I have again here loop condition is there. Now whenever it is looping it required information of the somebody has to pass the details here, right? Now you are doing some action here. When you are doing some action or here you are doing some action, and what are the output is there? You wanted to store that output in separate variable or separate resource. What are the output is there? That output you wanted to store it in separate. So in that case, I use a resource. In that case, I use a resource. Now I have performed some action here, and based on this action, whatever I'm storing it, I wanted to store that information separately in different variable, which is called as a resource. Different option, a different container, completely different container. I wanted to store this information. Now, if you want a different container, then you have to create a resource. Create a resource and store the information. What are the data you have it? Store that information into this container. Right? Or else, in order to execute this complete flow, something you need to pass it to this flow. For example, record ID you wanted to pass. If you want to pass the record ID, then how can you pass it? You need some container here. From that container, you need to pass the data. So that container is a resource container. Now within the resource, we have a different type of options are there. We will see that later. Now resource is nothing but either to store the data or the output of the data, to store the data in the resource or getting the data from the resource. Either of option you will choose it, or else if you want to calculate something or if you wanted to do some kind of a calculation, or if you want to get the records, basically getting the records or getting the record ID, getting the input for the flow, you use the resource, or storing the information, you use the resource, or a formula execution, you use a resource. So resource is used for the multiple purpose, either to store the variable or to get the variable. This constant is if you want to define some variable which does not change the value does not change in entire flow. If you declare a variable here, right, I equal to 10. If you declare a variable I equal to 10 by selecting the constant, you say here constant and the number equal to, let's say 10, right? Now this constant is nothing but this particular variable, whatever the variable is there here, I equal to 10. It does not change it. It does not change. The variable does not change in entire flow. Whatever you execute in the lightning flow, from the beginning to till the end, the variable name is a 10. It does not change. In that case, we use a constant. And the next one is a formula expression. If you want to perform some formulas, like you wanted to get the today's date or a created date, whatever the created date is there, if you want to get the created date or a today's date time. Now here I'll choose it. Now today plus 5. Now after 5 days, now it should be populated something or a created date. If you want a created date, take a created date plus 5. The day it is created, from that date to the till now. After the 5 years, you wanted to perform some action, or if you wanted to execute some logic, right? Some logic you wanted to execute, and logic or add, and logic or logic. What are the formula fields that we have seen? Those I can use it. Now, based on the previous field values, you wanted to check the and condition of logic 1 and logic 2. If this is true, then only this value should be display the data. Then only this value should be display the data. In that case, we use a formula. Text template is, it's a plain text. It's a plain text. We hardly use this text template. And the next one is a choice. Choice which we have seen, if you want to create a multiple choice, you can use it. Now the next one is a collection choice. Now the first one is a choice where you can create a only single one, which I have created here, the choice. Now here if you see the radio button, right? So which we have created a choice which is a single choice, But if you want a multiple choice, you can create a multiple choice. That means you have a collection choice set. For collection choice set, for example, you have a case. Right, so you have a collection variables which are stored here. Now, if you want to display the collection variable here, now you can create multiple information. Choice label is a case number, data type text equal to case number. Now it will be displayed here. We have not taken the proper. Now it will be displaying the multiple choice set. So in case if you want to create a multiple choice set, you can create a multiple choice set. That we will see one example how to do it with the scenario. That is the multiple choice. And the second one is a record choice set. Record choice set is nothing but what are the records you have? What are the records that are available in the lead? Those records you wanted to display as the record choice set. You wanted to display those records as a records choice set. Now you have a list of lead here. Now you wanted to display this list of lead as a record choice set. You can display the record choice set. And the next one we have a pick list choice set and the stage. So resources are used for the either storing the data or displaying the data. Either of this we will use the resource. Now we will see step by step each one of them. Now for now we need here in the screen flow and I am going to the field and here I need a resource to display the existing Salesforce fields. In order to display on the screen, I need this information. Click on a new button. Now here I'll say that these are the lead or a case records. Now here object, I'll take it as a case. Right, available for input. That means these are available. This required the input for other flow. Click on it, done. Now select here case. As soon as you select that resource case, now you can see all the fields that are available in the case. Now I can see contact ID, case origin, priority, case product, right status, subject, company, case type. If you want to drag it on here, you can drag it here. So which is automatically displaying the object is case, field is case type, field name is type, pick list is no, pick list, data type is pick list, required is no, update compatibility is yes, create a compatibility is yes. These are the standard fields. So this field is managed in the object manager because from the object manager we are pulling here. If you want to modify anything here, you need to modify at the object manager level. Your permission affect the update compatibility and create compatibility values displayed here, but the running user permission control their access at runtime. Right, so this is how we drag it. Click on the done. Now let's click on this debug. It does not have a next button. No, let's keep it as a next button here. Configure the footer. Okay, so use the custom label. Let's say next. Click on done. Save. Debug. Now case field I need to process it. Let's say 1030. Click on run. Now click on the next button. Type. It is displaying the type, which is a case type. Case type. If I go to the case, so case type. So here is the type. Now if you click on this type, you have a mechanical, electrical, electronic, structural, other. The same information it is displaying in mechanical, electrical, electronic, structural, other. Right? So this is how it is displaying it. Run it again. Click on the next button and the type mechanical, electrical, electronic, structural, other. This is the pick list fields. These are the pick list fields. Now that's how you can pull the event Salesforce standard fields onto the screen flow. Onto the screen flow. So click on a new resource, the new resource screen flow. In the screen flow, those are the options: component and then field. Component and then field. Here, for example, I wanted to create this screen. Let me delete this screen. Now, I'm creating the new screen flow here. I'm creating the new screen flow, display text. Display text. I'll just drag the display text. Now let's say that this flow is error message. Error message. Now display text. This is the error message. Now what are the input is there? I need an input here. Click on here new resource. I need a variable. Variable is a error message. Or let's say e-message. Data type is text. This we need it for the, basically we need it from the outside. We need it from the outside. And what I am going to do right now is, I have a lightning flow here. I have a lightning flow. And there is another lightning flow here. Another lightning flow. Usually whenever there is a error message occurs, usually when there is any error message occurs, so we wanted to show the error message. Now every lightning flow, it is not possible to call the screen flow. Now if you are implementing a screen flow, you can implement an error message. Right? If you are implementing a lightning flow, which is a record trigger flow or any of the auto launch flow, you cannot display the error message because the screen is not available. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a separate flow which is called as a error message flow. In this error message flow, I'll just display the message. This lightning flow is to just displaying the message. Just displaying the message. Just display the message. Now, who will be passing this message? From the lightning flow one, they have to pass the input field, which is called as some input field. They need to pass it here, so that whatever the input is received from this lightning flow, that the same text is displayed here. There's the same text is displayed here. Now this is what I'm implementing. Right now I'm implementing the error message. Error message is the display message. Now this is error message. Now this is the error message. In this error message, I have a display text. The display text is I'm going to display the whatever the variable error message is there, that variable I'm displaying it. Click on done. Now when you are implementing the free form, the connection won't be there, so you need to implement the connection. Right, so that's it. This is the screen flow. Let's click on and save. This screen flow is just displaying the message. It is just displaying the message. Now click on activate it. Now I'll go to the another flow. I'll go to the another flow. In another flow, let's say that okay, screen flow. Now here I have a primary contact. Primary contact which we have implemented. Now this is the screen flow, right? Now from this screen flow, for example, during this time, contact final screen, this is the whatever the data is there. Now here we are updating the contact. While updating the contact, I received an error message. So what I did, I clicked on this. I have clicked on this. I have added the add fault path. That means if there is any error during the updating this record. Now add a fault path. In the add fault path, I can click on a plus button. Here we have a subflow. Now what I can do, I can pass this subflow. Now what is my subflow name? My subflow name is, let's say, error message. What is my subflow name? Test flow. Let's say test flow. Now this is error message. Let's say this is error screen. Test flow. For the test flow, couple of input I need to pass it from this flow. One is a case, another one is a error message, right? Case I do not have right now, so I'll say here case is not required. Why it is expecting the case field? Because earlier we have created the case resource, right? Let's go to the manage. This is the case field. Now let me delete this. Perfect. Now let's go back to the primary contact. Let me refresh. Reload. No. Again, while updating, I'll add the fault path. And here I'll click on the plus button. And then I'll select the subflow. Click on this plus button. Click on the subflow. When you click on a subflow, it is going to show you that all the lightning flows which you can reference. Now here we need test flow, that one, the one which we have created. Now this is error screen. Now still it is asking the case field. What is the case field? I deleted it, but I did not save as activated. Okay, so error message, I wanted to pass the error message. What is the error message I wanted to pass? The error message, whatever the flow is there. For this flow, we have a option called fault message. Fault message. Click on done. Now I'm calling the error screen. Whatever the error screen is there, that I'm calling it. Now I'll click on save as. Now I can save this. Right, so what we are updating here, we are updating the title equal to updated title by the flow. So like this, we can call the another subflow. Now let me take another one which is called as a different flow. Update account ID on the contact. Now this is a scheduled trigger flow. We will come to this later. What else we have created? We did create a one flow where we are creating the dummy account, right? Did we create that? This is the test flow. Create an account based on the address. This is a different primary contact is different. Update account ID on contact. Update account ID on contact. Now here it is a new contact record creation. Now I'll delete this. Email is mandatory on the account. Okay, so while creating the account. Now in this case, I'll see the error message. So let's add the fault. Now click on here plus button and add a subflow. Select the test flow. It is not displaying, it is. It is a scheduled flow. Okay. I cannot call the screen flow here. Okay, let me create a new one. Click on a new. I am creating the screen flow. Now on the screen flow, let's say that screen and say text. And this is the account name. Right, it's a required field. Click on done, and then I'll select this account screen. I'm creating a new account. I'm creating the new account. Now while creating the new account, now I have user has entered this, user has entered the name, clicked on a finish method. As soon as user click on a finish method, I'll create a record. So in that case, I'll use a create a record element. Create a record element. Let's say that create account. Only one account I'm creating it. Record is, let's say, new resource variable ACC data type record object account. Click on done. Now here let's say account. For this account, I'll say account name. Name equal to whatever the account name is then. Account name, click on done. So while creating the account, definitely I'll receive an error. The reason is while creating the account, we have a mandatory field that user has to enter the email ID. Now I'll click on a new button. So if I just specify the name here, click on save. Now it is giving me the error. Now whenever this kind of error happens, now here while creating the account, definitely there is an error happens. So I'll click on it, screen this fault message and then click on a plus button, subflow. For that subflow, I'm going to call the test flow. Now here, let's say that this is the error screen. Now error message, I wanted to pass the error message. Message is a flow and then fault message. Click on done. Let's save this. Create an account on custom UI. Click on a save button. Now let me debug it. Let's click on run. It is asking me the account name. I'll say that Archana. Click on a next button. Immediately it is calling the second screen. See, subflow. Subflow is error screen. First it is executed the first screen. This is the screen, account screen. Whatever my screen name is there, this is the account screen. So first it is create an account from custom UI. Right? So first the transaction is interview started here. Transaction is committed. The screen one, account screen. Now click on a next button. Now after clicking on a next button, it called the create a record. Now while creating the record, it paid to create a record. Then what happened? It is error out. It is error out. And this error, it is passed to the another lightning flow which is called as a error screen. Whatever the error it had, it passed the details to the another screen called error screen. Now this is the test flow version 2. Right? Test flow version 2 is this one screen. It is called the second flow, which is a subflow. There it passed the entire error message and it is committed the transaction. Now, if you want to call from one lightning flow to another lightning flow, right? And if you are expecting any input, you can create a resource in the another flow. You can create a resource in the another flow, similar like a message that I have created here. So text, I'm expecting some message here available for input and output, right? So this information, I'm expecting the details from the other flow. Now, whenever this flow is called, I need to pass the input field here. Input field, I need to pass. If this input field is available, then it is going to display the message. I do not have anything in here. Here, I do not have anything. This message, it is displaying from the previous, whatever the screen is there, the previous screen message, it is passing to the next screen. Previous screen, it is passing the details to the next screen. Is that clear for everyone? Any questions so far? Okay. Now I'll go ahead and create another scenario. Now the scenario is in the account object. In the account object, we have a different records are there. Now for each account, how many contacts are there? I wanted to count it. For each account, how many contacts are there? I wanted to count it. Now, for each account, it is very difficult. For each account, it is very difficult. So what I'll do is in the all account, we have a something called industry. Now select a field to display, let's say industry. I'll modify the list view so that I can see the industry here. Now we have a different type of industries out there. Agriculture, banking, right? So let's take a few more banking. Click on save. Email is mandatory. Okay, so few more fields here. I'll say this is banking and email ID and give sb@gmail.com. Right, Pradeep Kumar is also banking, industry is banking, and let's say email is pk@gmail.com. Click on save. Now I have a four records. I have a four records of banking industry account. I have a four records of banking industry account. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four records are there. Now what I need is I need to find out the count of contact. Implement a lightning flow to find the count of contact for banking accounts. This is the scenario. Right? So for this is a high level. This is a high level scenario. High level scenario. Now here, when I go to the low level scenario, low level requirement,
Ma'am, we have already discussed the high level and low level requirement in yesterday's class for the
okay, so
flow
what should be
scenarios.
the type of the flow?
Okay, so type of the flow should be we can have a schedule flow, or else we can have the record trigger flow.
Okay, others, what should be the type of flow? Okay. So it is a record triggered flow. It is a record triggered flow. Now here condition which I have is first thing I need to get the all the accounts wherever the account industry equal to banking, right? Now let's go ahead and create that flow. Click on a new flow. Now let's say here record triggered flow, click on a create. Now record triggered flow, on which object do I need to create it?
Contact.
Contact. Now what should be the condition? Created or updated, deleted, what should we do it?
Created or updated.
Created or updated. Click on done. Now we have a record trigger flow here. Now next thing, I need to get the list of the accounts. I need to get the list of the accounts wherever the account is banking account. Wherever the account is banking account. Now here get the account list. Now I need an object account. Now field, what should be the field? Filter account record. What should be the filter account record?
Industry equal to banking.
Industry equal to banking. Now yesterday somebody asked about this filter. Who is that? Not clear on the banking part. Somebody asked about the filter, how to put a filter, when to put a filter. Somebody asked yesterday the question. Is it Sujata? No. No, I don't remember who asked it. So the question they asked yesterday is how to put a filter and when to put a filter. There is a lot of questions on this. Now, filter, how do you put it? So this filter account records. Filter account records. Now, first of all, why do we put a filter? Now you have 100 records within the Salesforce. Within the account, you have 100 records. Now, when you have 100 records within the account, when you have 100 records within the account, now every time your requirement in the real time, you will not be getting the requirement to loop through the 100 records. Definitely, they will put some condition there, right? Only the records that are banking account, or only the record where the lead status equal to new. They will say that only get these records, only get these records. Whenever you have this criteria is, they have saying that, okay, only for bank account, only for lead status equal to new leads, right? Whenever you have this criteria, in that scenario, you have to put a filter condition. Filter condition is nothing but you are filtering out. You are filtering out. So you are getting here 100 records. Actually, you have 100 records here. You have 100 records. Now, out of these 100 records, right, you wanted to get only the records wherever it says industry equal to banking. If you specify this condition in the filter, what will happen? While it is filtering it here, while it is filtering the output, whatever the output is there, the output you will get it only the related to the accounts that are having the banking industry. Now here you have 100 records. Here you have 100 records. The way it is flowing on, in between you have a criteria which is there. So this filter criteria is checked whether this record is qualified this filter. Whether this record is qualified this filter. If this qualified, then go inside this and store it into the output. Whatever the output is there, account output, store it into those account output. So whatever the out of these 100 records, whichever it is flowing here, each record it is going to check whether this filter criteria is qualified or not. This filter criteria is qualified or not. It will check that if it is qualified, then only it will pass into this loop. Then only it will pass into this loop, and final output you will get accounts details. Only you will get the details wherever the accounts that are equal, that are having the industry equal to banking. Only that output you will get it. Only that output you will get it. Right? So you have this kind of a filter condition. Wherever you see that filter condition is nothing but when to apply, when not to apply based on your requirement. What is your requirement says. So based on that, it is going to, you need to apply the filter. Now I'll give you the assignment on the same thing. Okay, I'll give you I will give you the picture here in the paint, but what I need is you guys have to implement it in the lightning flow. I'll not implement in the lightning flow. I wanted to see whether you guys are able to implement this. If I give the picture in the like here in the paint, okay. Now the requirement is the same requirement, but what I'll do is I'll implement it through the screen flow. Implement lightning flow. Okay, lightning screen flow and specify here lightning screen flow to display the count of contacts for each account. Okay, this is a screen flow. So initially what you will have a screen. Now this I want everybody to be implemented. Then I can go to the next one, record flow tomorrow. This is a screen flow, right? In the screen flow, then here you have a plus button. Something called as a plus button will be there here. And below this you will have another component. Now, what is the element you are calling here? Another element is, this element is get record element. Get record element, right? So for this get record element, what I'm getting the list of accounts. For this list of accounts, you need to check the filter condition where the industry equal to banking. Right? Now, next one we have this is a get record element. Now I am moving on it. Now next one we have a plus button here. Now after that again we have one more element. Now which element? Now in order to, I need to look through the each account and get the count of it. That means here I need to have another element which is called as a loop element. I need to use the loop element. Why do I need a loop element here? Loop element is basically to check whatever the accounts I am getting it here. Here I am getting the 10 records, 10 account records. I need to loop through the 10 account records, right? This loop is whatever this loop is there. Right, so this loop is going to cross verify each record. That means whatever the output I am getting it from here to here, I am getting the from input for this loop will be list of accounts. Right, it has to pass. That means developer has to specify within the loop. They have to specify the input field is input field for the loop is list of accounts. What are the above list of accounts are there? What are the list of accounts are there? That list of accounts you need to provide it to this loop. You need to provide it to this loop. Now, if it is having a 10 records, first it will go to the first record. Now below it will have. Now here your per each is getting started. Here per each. Per each it gets starts. Now when it starts the per each, now first record it is going to take it up, and then you need to add one more element here. One more element you need to add it. What is that element? For first record, here you are getting the first record of the account, first account record. First account record. For this first account record, you need to get the contacts. Your element is again here get record. Your element is again here get record. Now what you are getting the get record element? You are getting the contact. List of the contacts. List of the contact. List of the contact for that specific account, for the first account. Get the list of contact for the first account. Till this point, everybody clear? Offline, online, except Kranti. Everybody is clear? Okay. Now here, first account, right? Now let's move on. Now I'm getting the list of the contact. Now once I get the list of the contact, now I need to count the contacts. I need to count the contacts, right? Now before counting the contacts, again I need to create a one more element. I need to create one more element here. One more element I need to create it. One more element. What should be the one more element? The element is again I need to loop through the contacts. Each contact I need to loop through the again. I need to loop through the contact. This is a loop. This is a loop. What loop it is? It is a contact loop. This is the first one is a account loop. This is first one is a account loop. Second one is contact loop. Contact loop. Now in the contact loop, while you are looping through this, now you have to start counting it. You need to start counting it. Now here again, your for each is going to start. For each is going to start. Now here you need to click on the each record. You need to click on the each record here, right? So first time it is going through the first contact. First contact. So from here to here, right? Right now it is a first account, first contact, right? Now below I need to add one more element. One more element. The element is a assigned element. Element is a assigned element. Now, what is this assigned element? What is this assigned element? Assigned element is nothing but before saving the data, before committing the data, before committing the data into database, before committing the data into the database, I want to store the certain information. I wanted to store the same data in queue. That means I'm storing the data in temporary box. I'm storing it. Now I have it here. Permanent box is available and the temporary box is available. Permanent box is nothing but it is committing into the database. Actual DML operation is happening and it is committing the data into the database. It is committing the data into the database. Right? This is the permanent one. Now temporary, I am creating some temporary one. Temporary is just to hold the information. It doesn't commit it. It does not commit it. It will just hold the information. It will just hold the information. And once you are done the data, hold information is just going to hold it until you say that, okay, go ahead and process it to the DML, the permanent one. Now, once it is done with the holding, now developer has to say that, okay, now process the data to this permanent box so that the data will be committed to the database. So that data will be committed to the database. So who will be holding it here? The data which is called as a assignment element, which is called as a assignment element. Assignment element is going to hold the data. Assignment element is going to hold the data. Right? So in order to hold the data, we use a assign. We use a assign. Now, why do I need a assign here? What I'm not doing any DML operation here. I'm not doing any DML operation. But why do I need it? Because I need to count the contacts. I need to count the contacts in the assignment. Now, how do I count the assign contacts here? Basically, whenever you are creating the assign, right, there is an option called as a variable. It will ask you to enter the variable. When it asks you to enter the variable, you need to create a resource. You need to create a resource, right? Resource name is a count. Resource name is a count, right? And the variable is a, what are the data type? Data type is number. And resource type is, you need to choose the variable. And the data type is number. Data type is number. And the starting number, if it is asking the starting number, then give just a 0. Just give a 0. Now that information, you have to pass it to this variable. For example, here the name of this resource is a count. Now in the assign variable equal to count, you have to say. Count equal to, you have to say. So resource variable name equal to count, right? Now whatever this count is there, this count name should be the same as this count. Now whatever the resource name is there, that name you need to provide it here, variable. And then in the assign, what you have to say, count operator, you need to give it as a add operator. And then specify here 1. That means count add 1. Every time keep on adding the 1. The first contact count equal to 1. Second contact within the same account. That time it will be the count equal to 1 plus 1. For example, if you have a first account is having a 3 contacts, right? It will execute the first contact. That time the count equal to 1. Now second time it is executing the second contact. It will say count equal to count plus 1. Previously my count is 1. Right now I am adding the one more 1, which is equal to 2. Right? Similarly, third contact equal to, again it is going to check the count. Now the count equal to count plus 1. Before it was count was 2 plus 1. Right? Right now it is a 3. So like this, it is going to get this. Now how it is going to get this? Every time first count it is came. Here. Right? We are assigning the details. Now it has to go through the second count, right? It has to go to the second count. Now if it has to go to the second count, now it has to go down, right? Here it will be a plus button will come, and then you need to loop through the, again one more time, the same loop. Now this loop has to be continued till the contacts are completed. This will automatically done. You need not to do anything. You just need to specify here, assign the assignment element, and you need to provide count equal to add and 1, operator is 1. This is for each. Once it is completed, now you need to go for it. That means this is the last one. Here you have it. It says that after last. Now once this is done, after last is done, then you need to go down, it will be go down, and here you need to add a one more plus button. And you need to display the screen here, you need to display the screen. Now this screen is going to, this is a screen element. This is screen element. This screen element is going to display the account name. What is the account name? What is the count of contact? Account name and what is the count of contact? So right now we are still in the first account. Right? It is going to, for example, this is the account is a Dell account. And the contact, I have a 3 contact. It should display the 3. Like this screen should be displayed. Once this is done, and next element you need to, what you need to do, whatever this resource count is there, right? That count needs to be reset. Otherwise, what will happen from the last count, it will keep on moving it. You need to reset it. In order to reset this, reset the count variable. This is the assignment element. Now, in order to reset, you need to use the assignment element here. You need to say count equal to 0. Reset it. Reset that, and then once it is a reset is done, now we have to go back to the, now we have to go back from here to the, wherever the per each loop is there, right? Next account. I need to go to the next account. Now from here, once it is after last is done, now this is it after last. Now after last is done, then you need to go down and slowly it will be ending from here. It's an ending. End element. This is how here it is ending. So this is entire flow. Screen flow, get the list of it, loop through the account, and once you loop through the account, again you need to get the contact and you need to loop through the contact, and then you need to assign the count equal to +1. Then once all the count of contact is done, then display the account name, what is the count of contact. Then once it is done displaying that, if you click on next button, what should happen? It go to the next account. When it goes to the next account, you need to reset the count element. So that it will go to the next one. Now again, second time it will go through this. Like this, we have a 4 accounts, 4 banking accounts. So 4 times it will go through that. After the 4th time, it will go to the after last, and then finally it will end. Will you guys able to implement it? Try it. If it doesn't possible, we will do it tomorrow in the class. How many able to do it? How many members will you able to do it? At least how many members will try it? Okay. Try it. If it doesn't possible, we will do it tomorrow. But most probably you can do it. Okay, talk to institute members. I'm not the right person to talk about the classes. Okay, whether you want a class or not Sunday, talk to the institute members.